John. And gosh, do you know what we're talking about today? Maybe compassion. Thank you so much. Thank you. Good morning. How we all doing today? Have you been enjoying this weather? Getting outside, isn't it amazing? I really hope you've been enjoying every day. We can enjoy every day no matter what. But okay, so we are in our second week of Brene Brown's book, Braving the Wilderness. And last week we talked about the wilderness experience and recognizing that as a country, we are in our own wilderness experience and really have been for about the last 8 to 9 years. Brene actually wrote this book in 2017, and it's amazing how it continues to apply so perfectly to today. And that wilderness has to do with this great political divide that we've been experiencing that has really separated us from each other. Now, we talked last week about how important it is for us to start finding ways to connect with each other. And in this idea of connection was also this idea of belonging. And really the focus of that is getting to a point where we belong to ourselves. And really, the more that I dive into this, the more that I read, just the more that I contemplate this, it really is that commandment, where it's, love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, and your mind, but love your neighbor as you love yourself. And really bringing it back to when we truly love ourselves, when we know who we are, when we can be in a place of compassion and we can be in that place of love, that is the most important gift that we can give the world, is to belong to ourselves so completely. We know who we are, but we know who we are in the broader perspective too. So it's not a matter of like, oh, these are my opinions, I'm sticking in it and nothing else. It's that these are my values, this is what's important to me, but what's more important to me is that we show up as love for each other, that we remember that we are each other's brother and sister, right? Not just those of us who are here in this room and who it's easy for us to love each other because we're like-minded, right? But moving beyond that. So I'm going to share a couple things that just to remind us that she says about belonging. Belonging is the innate human desire to be part of something larger than us. True belonging is not passive. We want true belonging, but it takes tremendous courage to knowingly walk into hard moments. She says true belonging is the spiritual practice of believing in and belonging to yourself so deeply that you can share your most authentic self with the world and find sacredness in both being a part of something and standing alone in the wilderness. It's really such a paradox, and she talks about paradoxes. True belonging doesn't require you to change who you are. It requires you to be who you are. This so supports our, to be authentically all that we came here to be. And, as I look at what we're talking about today, and I look at our principles in unity, and of course we started right off with God is, God is, and I am, and remembering that I'm not all that God is, but all that I am, really all that I am is God. I am those qualities of God already. I just have to be willing to do the work to let those qualities shine through me more often, right? Anybody ever fall short of that? Ever? We all do, and it's okay that we do. So one of the things that Brene talks about in her book is this whole idea of sorting, that we have sorted ourselves out. So I want to first go back to her definition of spirituality. She says spirituality is recognizing and celebrating that we are all inextricably connected to each other by a power greater than us all, and that our connection to that power and to one another is grounded in love and compassion. Okay, so we are inextricably, we are bound to each other. We are connected. We are one energy. But the key to this connection, the key to us finding our way back to each other, is grounded in love and compassion. And Brene says that right now we are neither recognizing or celebrating our inextricable connection, and that we continue to be pretty divided in many, many areas of our lives. And so in that, we're not showing up for each other in a way that really acknowledges that inextricable connection. And what has risen out of that is cynicism and distrust have a stranglehold on our hearts, right? Yeah, if we're real, you guys, I don't know how you can say that that's not true in many ways. Author Bill Bishop shares that we've geographically, politically, and even spiritually sorted ourselves into like-minded groups, and we've always done some type of sorting. But one of the things that Brene talks about in a talk that she did was that in 1976, 20% of counties delivered landslides for the presidential candidate. In 2016, 80% of counties delivered landslides for the presidential nominee. And all that this means, my friend, is that we have become completely sorted, that we have become factions, right? And how's that working for us? It's not. It's not, right? So that's what we're going to talk about today. So Brene says that the sorting that we do to ourselves and to one another is at best unintentional and reflexive, but at worst, it's stereotyping and it's dehumanizing. We look at someone and we see how they're dressed and we sort them into a category. We see homeless people on the street. We sort them into a category. We see political signs in people's yards and we sort them into a category, right? Yeah, I mean, that's just typical and normal in our human consciousness, our human ego. But here's what I'm going to tell you: we can do, and we can be much better. So she says, again, at best it's unintentional and reflexive, but at worst it is stereotyping and it is dehumanizing. Because why? And we talked about this last week. It's easy to see people as the other, and when we see people as the other, we oftentimes make them wrong, right? Yeah, we're just getting real and raw here. We're getting honest here. The biggest problem is that once that we make someone wrong, it unconsciously gives us permission to dehumanize them. So just think about it. When you talk about dehumanizing, it really is that you don't even see somebody in their innate divine worth. And so things like, how easy is it to dehumanize people you see on the side of the streets? How easy is it to dehumanize them? How easy is it to dehumanize an active alcoholic or an active drug addict? How easy is it to dehumanize the other political party? How easy is it to put them in a them kind of a category, right? So as I shared last week, we can't wait for the others to come around to our right thinking, right? Did you hear that? To our right thinking. And let me just say here, just as, with fundamental Christianity, there are many religions that claim to have the only path, the only answer, the only authorized version of the Bible. And of course, in Unity, we believe that there are many paths, many great teachers along the way, yet we do the same thing with our politics. We're right. They are so wrong. Can't they see? Have any of us said it? Any of us thought it? Yeah, absolutely. And guess what? The other political parties are saying the same thing about you, right? So what if, my friends, what if there is rightness in all of them? Rumi said, out beyond our ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, there is a field, and I'll meet you there. And I'm going to tell you, if right now what's coming up in you is some angst, oh, hold on a second, but they are wrong, you're in your ego. We're in our ego. Now, here's where it gets a little tricky, where the idea of belonging to ourselves comes in. It doesn't mean, how many times have you heard, well, we can agree to disagree? Okay, it doesn't mean that we agree to disagree on our values, because I'm going to tell you right now, there are some things like human rights that I can't agree to disagree on. I can't agree to disagree on the rights of my LGBTQIA plus brothers and sisters, on the rights of my fellow females, on the rights of other ethnic groups. I can't agree to disagree on that. But here's the thing. What it does mean is that we can stand and we can support individually and collectively our values, while at the same time participate in finding common ground. Because we've lost the common ground part. We've become so like, this is right, this is wrong, you're wrong, I'm right, you people are crazy, that we have lost our ability to just be connected and just to find that common ground. It was interesting, Paul and I were at the courthouse a few weeks ago doing our senior citizen tax credit thing, and there was a couple in front of us, and one of them had, the other political party on his being, and you know what we chose to do? We chose not to even care. We chose just to be present to this couple in front of us and just talk to them, and we just had the greatest time standing in line there for the 30 minutes we stood in line. When we went on our cruise, one of the things we talked about is there was no political anything, on that cruise. 3,000 plus people, because there's probably another 1,200 people who work there. And it was just all people there just having fun. There was no separation. There was just, how can we start working to find what we have in common with each other? Because here's what I said last week, is we cannot wait for others to change. It's not about others changing. And every time we go there, we give up the power that we have to be the change that we want to see in the world. And you know what that's going to take? Effort and work. It's going to take awareness, right? Believe me, I'm telling you, it's going to take effort and work and awareness, because these talks always give me the opportunity to dive deeper into where, oh my gosh, I am holding some of that stuff. Or I have been saying some of these things, playing that same drum that I don't want to see happen. If we believe what we say we believe with our teachings, we can't keep talking negatively about everybody else and about being afraid of what's going to happen. We're putting that out into the world. Whatever is happening today, my friends, God is in the midst of it. Love is in the midst of it. We may not see it, but God is there and love is there. And we have to trust that we have to do our part to bring more of that into the world around us. That's where the change takes place. And I want to remind us, you matter. You matter. Don't think of yourself as small, and what you matter, and what you bring absolutely matters. So, Brene says, we're going to find ourselves kind of wandering into some situations that can be a little bit sticky, right? So she says, you don't wander into the wilderness unprepared. Standing alone in a hypercritical environment or standing together in the midst of difference requires one tool above all others, and that's trust. To brave the wilderness and become the wilderness, we must learn how to trust ourselves and how to trust others. So the first thing she starts with is taking the word braving and kind of making an acronym and using that as in trusting others. Now I see this as more that I'm going to make a conscious decision to go into a conversation with somebody or go into an environment with people that may not be like me. And so there's some things that I'd like to have in place, and these are important things. So she starts with boundaries. B is for boundaries. That, with the other person, you respect my boundaries, and when you're not clear about what's okay and not okay, you ask that you're willing to say no. But isn't it important for people to respect our boundaries? How do you feel when someone is pushing your boundaries? Right. So we just want to have that clarity. The second thing, the R, is reliability, meaning that you're going to do what you say you're going to do. You're going to show up in the way that you say you're going to show up. The A is accountability. You own your mistakes and apologize, and you make amends. Okay, this is what, so I would bring this, if I'm bringing this to myself, this is how I can be better in relationship to other people by owning this myself. But this is also maybe the things that we would like to have in relationship to other people. And then she talks about the vault, and the vault, this is so important, you guys. You don't share information or experiences that are not yours to share. You don't tell somebody else's story that is not yours to tell. That's a big one, isn't it? That would be called gossip, right? The I is integrity. You choose courage over comfort. You choose what is right over what is fun, fast, or easy, and you choose to practice your values rather than simply professing them. And then the N is non-judgment. I can ask for what I need. You can ask for what you need. We can talk about how we feel without judgment. That's easy, right? No judgment, yeah. And then the G is you extend the most generous interpretation possible to the intentions, words, and actions of others. That's a big one again. These things, here's the thing about what I love about what she shares in these chapters is that these become practices. And guess what practices are? They're something you practice, right? But the more that you do it, they become a skill set. And don't you love it when you're in the presence of someone who has been able to find their center and be that voice that is not freaking out when people around are freaking out? Yes? Yeah. That's who we can be. That's who we can choose to be, is we can be that presence and that voice. And we can be that all the time if we practice. Now, she says, let's take this braving acronym and bring it to ourselves. And here's where it gets really important for us. Did I respect my own boundaries? Was I clear about what's okay and what's not okay? Was I willing to voice that is not okay? Was I willing to do that? Was I reliable? Did I do what I said I was going to do? Did I hold myself accountable? Did I respect the vault and share appropriately? Did I act from my integrity? Did I ask for what I needed? Was I non-judgmental about needing help? And was I generous towards myself? So, this is where we can trust ourselves. And this is really where that moves into that belonging to ourselves so fully that I'm willing to be this vulnerable and this real with you and show myself and tell you what my needs are and what I won't accept in this, conversation or this relationship. That these are really important things for us. And I encourage you can get online, I'm sure, and find these things. Now, this is where it takes us now to compassionate listening. My friends, we truly have to be able to listen to each other, and as I shared last week, listening with the willingness to be changed by what we hear. Okay. Listening with a willingness to be changed by what we hear. How many of us here think that we know it all? Anybody? Like, I know it all. No, none of us. How many of us have been surprised when we've had an opportunity to sit down and talk to somebody? We've had a totally different idea of them, but we sat down and actually had a conversation with them, and you're like, oh. So a willingness to be changed by what we hear. So what I'm going to share with you are called the 5 practices of compassionate listening, and you can find this on compassionatelistening.org. And the intention of compassionate listening is to know that, as I said, this is a practice, it turns into a skill set, and this actually becomes an incredible healing gift. So there are 5 core practices of compassionate listening. And the first one, of course, is cultivating compassion. We need to cultivate compassion in order to engage in compassionate listening. And the place that we have to start is right here with ourselves. And so I love that the first one is anchor in your heart and essence. To me, this is God first. This is God first. anchor in my heart, in my essence. How many of us remember me talking about heart math and coherence? Well, interestingly enough, I was reading some stuff about the Reverend Stretton Smith, the late Reverend Stretton Smith, Unity minister. How many of us remember the 4T Prosperity Program? Yes, tithing of your time, talent, and treasure. And I believe that Stretton actually came up with this before heart math. When I look at when he was alive and when he died. So he shares, as does heart math, that the brain has two hemispheres, the right brain, which is the creative, the left brain, which is the analytical, but that there is also a brain in our heart, and this is what heart math is all about. And the heart's electrical system is 40 to 60 times stronger than the brain's electrical system. Hear this. And that these electrical frequency signals are so strong they can be measured in the body. We've talked about this when we've talked about heart math. So he breaks it down into incoherent and coherent signals. And that when we are experiencing anger and frustration and anxiety, and when we're in that place, that we create an incoherent signal in our body, in our heart, then guess what? This incoherent signal goes out to our entire body, and what we now know is that it goes out beyond us. Have you ever come into somebody's presence who's really angry and you feel it? Yeah? That's that incoherency. It's strong, but the thing you have to look at is, what is it doing to your body, first of all? Because you're putting this energy, these chemicals out into your body. So the other side of this is when we are in a place of love and kindness and compassion. And one of the things that they suggest that you do is, put your hand on your heart and close your eyes and think of someone or something that you love unconditionally. It could be a dog or a cat. It could be a person. It could be being outside somewhere in nature, whatever, that makes you feel that love. And just let yourself be in that space, and that creates the coherence. And when that also sends signals to the body. Now, what are the signals to the body happening then? Good, right? And the energy that goes out from that. You come into a room and there's somebody who is just exuding that. How do you feel? The point being, my friends, we have to start taking responsibility for what it is that we're emanating out here, for what it is that we're carrying in our heart. Am I in my coherent state, or am I in my incoherent state? We're all going to get into the incoherence. That's just our normal human experience. But I can tell you, just from my own experience, and having been in Unity as long as I have, I still spend way too much time there. And that's really become something that's come up for me lately, and just some experiences that have happened that I'm like, oh my gosh, it totally gave away my power and forgot. We all forget, right? But that's okay, because we get back up and we go on. Okay, so this anchoring in our heart, it's vital daily for us, but sometimes hourly, right? If you're watching the news, I'm going to say you got to anchor in your heart every 4 or 5 minutes or so. The other thing is, cultivate compassion for yourself and practice forgiveness for yourselves. And I love what this says. It says having a beautiful soul doesn't mean you're pure and spotless. It means being able to consistently come back with a heart of love and compassion despite your imperfections as a human being. You are perfectly imperfect. That it's okay. Is anybody here not experience their humanness? We all do. And know that you're not out there by yourself, that we all experience it. And it's okay. We just want to do the work to come back to that center of love and compassion more often. Then engage in ongoing personal work to heal your own wounds, your own triggers. We're going to talk about that in a second. Find the feelings of the other within you. and allow that to guide an atmosphere of connection and healing. Experience and express gratitude and appreciation for yourself and others. Tell the other person, thank you for being present here. Thank you for being willing to listen. Thank you for being willing to have this conversation. And practice forgiveness of others, because I'm going to tell you, you're going to need to practice forgiveness of others, right? Yeah. Okay, the second thing is developing fair witness. This includes the ability, and this is a bit, build capacity to stay centered in the fire of intense interactions or strong emotions. What do we know about this political climate today? Intense interactions and strong emotions, right? How can we find, and it goes back to getting into that coherence within our own being. Notice, unpack, and contain your own triggers. This is a big one, my friends. We can respond instead of react. And that is so important for us. When we react out of our triggers, we will say and do things that we can't take back. Anybody ever react out of triggers? How'd it work for you? Not well. That's not where we want to live, right? We want to heal those things. I read that reaction is acting instinctively based on emotion. And response is acting executively based on wisdom. Viktor Frankl said, between stimulus and response, there is a space. And in that space is our power to choose our response. And in our response lies our growth and freedom. Right? Yeah. So, wow, that's a big one. Because if we're not willing to work on our own triggers, we are not going to be able to be present in a place of love and compassion. We just aren't. That's, again, why love your neighbor as yourself. You've got to love yourself. You've got to do the work that is yours to do to be able to show up as that with your neighbors, who is everybody. Suspend judgment of yourself and others, and use language that reflects non-judgment when asking questions or providing feedback to others. Do you know what this means? It means that you're not going, you did this. Your party, your people. No, we're expanding. We're trying to connect. So we're not going to use that language. Okay, respecting self and others. Discern how your emotional state, if you have come in and you get into an emotional state, does my emotional state affect the people around me? Yes. So take responsibility for that. Hold the intention to do no harm. Take responsibility. I am part of what is unfolding. I'm not separate from it. Welcome connection, yet set those respectful limits. It's okay. Again, we can set those boundaries. And offer listening as a gift. I love this. Choosing to keep your opinions, stories, and interpretations out of the way. What? So I'm going to tell you a story about that in a second. And then the last thing, is speaking from the heart. This includes your ability to anchor your energy in the heart when you're seeking words. So again, we're going back to that anchoring in our heart. Be courageous in giving voice to what has truth and meaning. Like I said, this doesn't mean that we don't stand for our values. It's okay for you to give voice to what has truth and meaning, but you can do it in a kind way. And then use language that reflects a healing intention. So, as the universe always does, or quite often does for me, and sometimes I don't know if it's for me or not. I know it is ultimately, but as it gives me opportunity to practice whatever it is that I'm working on that week. So we have a little area in the front yard with a swing. I'd been out there. I'd been working on my talk. So I was pretty centered in this stuff. And I decided, I want to go for a walk around the block. And so I start out on my walk, and I'm working in my own mind with just some stuff that has been coming up for me. That I'm trying to work through and release. And so I'm talking to myself as I'm walking along. And as I come around the corner, I see an older gentleman, and he's like 2 houses in front of me, and he's walking, and I could tell he has a cup of coffee. And I see him kind of go out onto the street, and I thought, he must have just been visiting somebody, and he's going to go home. No, he turns around, and he comes back to me. And so he starts talking to me. And the thing is, I've never seen somebody not take a breath for 15 to 20 minutes of just like, honestly, I told Paul, I tried to get away ultimately, but it took me honestly, 6 or 7 times of, saying it. But it was an amazing experience because this man, we were looking at some political signs, and I happened to say, I'm really grateful that sign is there. And he said, oh. And so he started telling me why his belief was different, and he started telling me about the history of Catholicism, and and then he started, and I'm cracking up inside, seriously, because I'm like, oh, thank you. It's a great, I was very grateful that I had just been working on my talk because I was very centered. And so I just kind of stood there and I listened, and then he said a couple of really ridiculous things that are absolutely not true. And I took the opportunity only one time to say, may I offer a different perspective on this? And I shared a perspective, and he actually said, well, that's interesting to think of it. He semi-agreed with it, But on the other stuff, I was like, I'm not going to change his mind. I'm not there to change his mind. Then he goes on to talk about 3 or 4 other things that I totally don't agree with. And, I just stood there and I just smiled and I just listened. And I had no choice really but to listen, but I did just listen. And I said, I just think that we're not as far apart as we think we are. And he's just like, what, And I said, we have to be willing to have these conversations. And I said, I'm very grateful for this because nobody got mad, and I said, and this is how, we're going to change it. And he, and his last thing that he said to me was, hey, yeah, after honestly, my 6th or 7th time of saying, I gotta go, you follow your own heart and you vote with your own heart. And I just felt so grateful for that interaction because I had a conversation with someone who has really very different political ideas from me. And we didn't get mad at each other, and we didn't put each other down. We just talked about it. And I know that can't happen with everyone. I know with some people you're going to have to set those boundaries. But you guys, I really believe that we can do that more and more if we're willing to do the work that is ours to do. And the work is the pre-work. The work is the work that we're willing to do every day to remember who we are, to remember to center ourselves in love and in God the first thing that we get up in the morning, and to remember to go back and do that over and over and over again throughout our day, to take responsibility for our own triggers, to take responsibility for the fact that, guess what? I don't know everything. But if I'm willing to listen, I'm going to learn more, and I may be surprised by what changes in me because I'm willing to listen. We have been given 2 ears and 1 mouth. And you know what that means. You need to listen twice as much as you talk. So in closing, Rachel Naomi Remen says, listening creates a holy silence. When you listen generously to people, they can hear truth in themselves, often for the first time. And in the silence of listening, you can know yourself in everyone. And eventually, you may be able to hear in everyone and beyond everyone the unseen singing softly to itself and to you. And isn't that what it's about? To bring more of God, to bring more of the goodness, to bring more of the love, to bring more of the compassion and the kindness and the connection. We can do it. We can do it. Namaste. Namaste. Thank you. All right. No, you're good. I love you. I love it, yes. Okay, as our band and ushers are coming forward, this is our opportunity to be in support financially of Unity of Springfield and all that we are here to do and be together. There are many ways that you can give through our Tithely app, through Venmo, PayPal, website. It comes out of my bank account every week, and I'm so grateful for that because I don't ever have to think about it. And so I'm going to invite us to take our gift or the energy of our gift into our hands and into our heart and our consciousness, and let's share in our blessing together. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive.
Thank you, Sue. Our next special is He Ain't Heavy, He's My Brother.
Thank you. So I want to share something with you because I want to dedicate this song to our crisis cold weather shelter and to our brothers and sisters that we support in that. And I don't know where this came from. I couldn't find the author, but I loved it. Get up off your knees. Come out of your churches, your mosques, your temples. God can hear your prayers for peace, justice, and hope in this broken world just fine while you're out creating peace, working for justice, and giving hope to this broken world. When are we finally going to realize that humanity is the solution to inhumanity? When will we finally understand that we are all drops of the same ocean, hurting together, healing together, hoping together? So don't just pray for hands to heal the hurting. Pray with hands that are healing the hurting. Don't just pray with arms for arms to help the helpless. Pray with arms that are helping the helpless. Don't just pray for feet to respond to need. Pray on feet that are responding to need. Don't just pray for someone to do something. Be someone who does something. Don't just pray for the answers. Be the answer.
Now, I think before we start the announcements, we need to talk about those trio of pictures that Sue put up of Paul. I mean, come on, right? Like it was like, oh, dirty hippie. Oh, that guy has a chain with a Coke spoon. Oh, this guy married a minister. Like it was a weird progression right there. I would like to say on behalf of I am saying on behalf of everyone, I would like to have a adult education class that kind of covers those dark years. So that guy's a player tip. That guy, yeah, he's on the straight and narrow, I guess. All right. So tonight, meditation at 6 p.m. and it is open to everyone. We do have the mat makers that are meeting every Thursday at 10 a.m. This group weaves sleeping mats out of plastic bags, which are then donated to folks who are unsheltered. The mats provide a waterproof barrier between them and the ground when they sleep. Their goal is to make 100 mats in 100 days, and they would love your help. Where are we at right now? I know we were at 50 of 50, right?
I don't know. It's not Thursday yet.
It is not Thursday yet. That's where we're at. It's a different sort of metric. So next Sunday at the 9:15 New Thought and World Religion Adult Education class, Greg Lee will present The New Dream, which is based on the 4 agreements. And on Tuesday, October 29th, from 6 to 8 p.m. at the O'Reilly Center for Hope Community Partnership of the Ozarks is having a crisis cold weather shelter volunteer training. This is for all new and returning volunteers. Some of the topics covered will be de-escalation, harm reduction, and using Narcan. They are providing food, and you can sign up in the foyer or scan the QR code and sign up online. And our next Friendship Sundays potluck will be November the 3rd. Everyone is invited to bring a dish and stay after the service for food and for fellowship. Please sign up in the foyer with what you plan to bring. Deidre D'Amico will be facilitating a 3-part class on understanding your rising sun and moon signs. Understanding your rising sun and moon signs. Got that right. Participants will learn the meaning, significance, and importance of these signs. Classes will be November 3rd, the 10th, and the 17th from 1:30 to 2:30 p.m. You can also sign up in the foyer. Simone.
Good morning. Good morning. All right. It is time for some fun. Like we always have fun, though, right? Okay, yes. So Saturday, November 9th, we're having a Falling for Unity. It's a nice event that'll be Melanie Hasseltine and I, with the help of Miss everybody actually, but Miss Lisa. So it's going to be Saturday from 5 to 8 p.m. There'll be chili. There'll also be a vegetarian chili, barbecue, sides, desserts. John and Mitch are going to bless us with taking care of the music part.
Bless is a very forgiving word. Thank you. It's a very,
Guys,
yes.
you guys always know you do. There'll be an auction, and then we have prayers for this beautiful day like today to be on November 9th, so we can have that bonfire outside and do some s'mores, and most of the stuff will be inside, but then we have the option to go out too. It will be $20, food, beverages, 2 beverages, and this wonderful evening of entertainment, all for that price. It's very inexpensive, and we're going to have fun, guys. I do need some volunteers to set up about 1 o'clock that day, and then also for cleanup. Somebody to help serve food and help with the tickets in the bar, that type of stuff. Auction items, if you have anything that you would like to donate, please let me know. And if a couple, 3 of you would bring some desserts, let me know. Also, if anybody has some fall decor they want to part with, especially straw bales or like the corn stalks, so we can decorate fallish. And then again, please sign up. The sign up, the sooner the better, but the deadline is Wednesday, November 6th. That way we know about the food. And the last homework that you have is vision a day like today on November 9th. All right. Okay. Yeah, we're powerful. No problem. Thank you.
Thank you, Simone. Lacey, I believe you have a...
Good morning. So as you guys know, we're 2 weeks away from the cold weather crisis shelter starting. And we wanted to let you know that if you want to sign up to help us, it takes a village, guys. It really does. And so we would appreciate anybody who would like to sign up. You can scan the QR code there. It's going to take you to our volunteer site, and it's going to give you where you can choose from what you want to sign up for and allow you to choose the day that you want to sign up on. Out in the foyer is our schedule. You can see any openings that are on the schedule. And if you are unable to get online and sign up, you can always see the openings on the schedule and let Lisa and I know, and we can help get you signed up. So thank you so much. We're going to be in the fellowship hall afterwards, so if you need help getting to that site and kind of figuring out how to sign up, just come in and ask any questions you have.
And so Lacey is our co-coordinator. Were you going to say that? Is our co-coordinator now. She stepped up to co-coordinate this with Lisa, so thank you so much to Lacey.
Yes, and so all I want to talk about is our 8 and 8 drive. We're starting our 7th week. All of the stuff out there is amazing. I know a lot of you brought all your stuff in at the same time. It's easier that way for some, I guess. But this week our item is either the peanut butter or cheese snack crackers. Those are great snacks that our guests can grab them and put them in their bag and have them for the day when they're out until they come back and see us that evening. So 7th week, 1 more week to go. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Lacey. All right, if you would please stand and join us in our prayer for protection. Together, the light of God surrounds us, the love of God enfolds us, the power of God protects us, and the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well.